Yeah, it's your boy Ray on the mic. Let's go.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Ray White from On the Mic with Ray White and Equity Inclusion Strategist as well with RD White Consulting. Excited to talk to you a bit about this book, Advocacy in Action, 9 Practical Ways for Allied Social Justice, just dropped. It is available for you now by clicking the link in the bio or DM me the word AIA book. I'm excited to send you all the link to pick this up because this is going to be a phenomenal book and a phenomenal tool to help you become an advocate in your spaces, starting where you are with the tools and the resources and the knowledge that you currently have to make that cultural change and a cultural shift so that every identity belongs to thrive within your spaces. If you listen to the first episode, I talk a little bit about why this book was written by the time in 2020 when we experienced so much turmoil and so much division when it comes to the social uprising and the countless deaths that occurred from the Black community within that space, and many folks who have asked the question, what can I do to be a social justice advocate in my communities? And what this book has created is some practical steps for you to take if you've asked that question for yourself, because I know you did. So that's why I wrote the book. So there's some tactical ways where you can do that through your various circles of influences. And with this series, we're going to talk a bit about some of those influences. But before we get to that, there's a section of the book that I really wanted to tackle on first that will help you identify how to navigate this space when it comes to becoming a social justice advocate. And as you're positioning, where are you, right? Where are you when it comes to your understanding, your knowledge, your perspective on the communities that are in pain, the historically excluded identities in our society, the types of injustice or oppression that people are experiencing because of who they are and how they show up, right? Where do you see your knowledge, your perspective, your proximity to that perspective, and how does that play a role and influence in your ability to practice empathy, practice grace, to become an ally and an advocate within this space? That is the key question that I want you all to think about when it comes to this topic. When 2020 occurred and George Floyd was murdered and everybody got to see the 8 minutes and 46 seconds of him dying on social media, that created such divide when people were trying to identify how they would respond to this event. There were Black people in pain, in sorrow, in agony, in so much distraught by seeing another countless life that we identified with, associated with that in social media, right? And then there were those who were not Black who were also in remorse and also in pain, but then there were also those who said, you know what, he shouldn't have been a drug dealer, he shouldn't have been this. His past was such a negative way that it led him to be receiving that particular result. And that is the type of engagement and the type of space where we need to identify and navigate when these messages are occurring, or when we have these certain types of biases or certain types of perspectives or worldviews that paint a picture for the way that we see people based upon their identity. We have to stop and pause and understand, where does that message come from, and how does that message play a role in the way that I engage, in the way that I relate, or the way that I even take action within my spaces and in my leadership. Within the book, there's these 2 circles that are created, and it helps to identify the types of positioning that you would be when you experience a social justice or social inequity within your spaces. The first circle is a circle of engagement. That's the cycle in which that people are leaning deeper into understanding through curiosity, through empathy, through understanding, and wanting to truly find the ways to be self-aware and take social action when it comes to creating the culture change within their spaces. And within that cycle, you have individuals who are going through the phases of becoming aware of what is existing around them, what social injustice and inequities that are occurring within their spaces. So for example, in 2020, when people recognize that the Black community has experienced so much pain and trauma through the hands of those in power, and seeing it on display in a very rapid fashion through social media, heighten the awareness, which the word woke comes from, right? Heighten the awareness of people to understand that this exists, and created a space where people are diving deeper into curiosity to see where else does this level of inequity or this level of oppression occur within my space. And through that awareness then moves people to become more of an ally, where you start to recognize and understand the people that you're in a relationship with and want to stand in solidarity with them and find ways to support them and amplify their voices when they are experiencing pain, trauma, and sorrow, but also joy and also excitement and also just wonder and just becoming a humongous person that is a person who is supporting and uplifting those in that community as well. So moving from becoming aware that multi-identities exist in our spaces, building relationships and supporting them through the allyship, which then moves folks further into the circle of engagement by becoming an advocate, in which an advocate person, which is what this whole book is about, is recognizing the places and spaces where they can step up and utilize their voice, utilize their platform to create change or right the wrongs and to amplify the voices that have been historically excluded in their spaces and just be another conduit to change when it comes to social justice. So the circle of engagement encourages folks to move from aware to ally to advocate and constantly go through that pattern when you are engaging any new type of information that is related to our social identities and how it relates to one another and our ability to achieve equity. However, while there is a reaction on this space, there's an equal and opposite reaction in this side as well. And folks can navigate through the circle of dissonance. So you have the circle of engagement where you're leaning deeper into more and more your identity, your awareness when it comes to social inequities and social justice. But there also is a path where folks can move into a circle of dissonance where they're actively moving away and moving back from the concepts of social injustice to avoid any type of engagement or interactions that's related to their social inequities around them, which is actually one of the phases, right? So we become aware of the social inequities that we see. And for folks who choose to navigate the circle of dissonance, they then avoid any type of responsibility, accountability, associations when it comes to the social inequities that they see around them. So they choose to step back, they choose to keep a blind eye, they choose to not see their role in creating the social inequity that's occurred within that space, or decide not to do further explanation because it's hard work. Right? It is difficult. It's just challenging. It changes the worldview and landscape, and our worldview is something that we've hold dear to us for all of our lives. And by the time we change it or want to change it, it's really hard to do. So the avoidance is one of a common tactic or a common position that people would take in this advocacy framework to step back and to not be so involved and engaged, because it just takes way too much for them to be the person to help make that cultural change. And by furthering ourselves in that cultural dissonance, circle of dissonance, we move from avoiding any type of responsibility to create that culture change to then being absent from that work as well. By being absent, then you're not in proximity of the people or the narratives that are related to any type of injustice or oppression that you see. There's a constant action to not engage into that work as well, furthering yourself to becoming more avoidance of any type of oppression or any type of narrative that people are experiencing. And it's just constantly staying in that loop where we are becoming aware, we're avoiding, and then we are moving ourselves further and further away from any type of opportunities to create that culture change. And that's where the divide really comes in, is when people decide to move further into the circle of dissonance and choose to not lean in through engagement and through curiosity and want to keep things as status quo and keep this culture that we created by default by allowing status quo to be what it is, rather than designing it in a way through curiosity and through engagement, through becoming an ally, and then creating the change necessary so everybody has the opportunity to thrive in this space. So that is listed and articulated in this book with additional actions and focuses for you to take if you find yourself in those positions. Now, as I say to those positions, there might be some emotions that may come in you, right? Like some folks may feel excited because they feel like they're moving in a direction that is moving towards engagement, but some folks may feel a little bit of shame or guilt when it comes to those things. So when they feel like they're not as engaged as they want to be. By no means, as you read this book or engage in social justice work, should there be any type of shame or guilt that you experience. But what I hope to bring as you read more into this book is a level of curiosity and a level of opportunity for you to know where you are and then take that next step to turn the corner to be more engaged and move more towards the circle of engagement when it comes to our social identities, experiencing equity and access and dignity within our spaces. So that is what is in this book. Like I stated, you had the opportunity to understand where you are in that positioning framework, know what focus you need to take that next step deeper, to move to more of a culture of engagement, as well as reflective questions for you to think and process through to ensure that what you are looking to do or where you're positioning within this space is in the spot where you want it to be. So advocacy in action, 9 practical ways of social justice is one, knowing your position is one of the ways to help you understand if the work that you're doing is moving towards becoming an ally and advocate. And I would love for you to pick up the book so you can know specifically where you are and how your positioning is helping advance social equity within our organizations and with our spaces and communities, and creating an inclusive community where every identity belongs and thrives. So pick up the book. You can find this within the link in the show notes, as well as DMing me AIA book. I'm happy to send you the link, and I'm happy to send you a signed copy of this as well. I'm super excited about this. This is going to be revolutionary for you and your leadership in creating a really strong community and a really strong space. And I'm excited for you to engage into this work as well. The next episode that we'll walk through, we'll talk about what the inner circle looks like, the type of work that you need to do to create this, and we'll continue to take the necessary steps in the further episodes to talk more in depth about what each stage is. But you gotta read the book. It's gonna be beneficial for you and your leadership. So pick up a copy, grab yours today, and continue to be a culture change agent for you and your community where every identity belongs and thrives. Let's go.